Hello, this is Kevin from the Austin Public Library, welcoming you to Discover Your World, Amazing Africa. While you're out of school, we're looking for ways to support your education, and one of my favorite programs at the Austin Public Library is, of course, the Discover Your World Geography Bee. So we're going to bring that home. The topic for this first group of lessons, we decided it could be Africa. Why Africa? Well, after 5 years of doing the Geography Bee, Africa is definitely the continent that most of the kids seem to know the least about, and the only cure for not knowing something is to learn about it. So here we go. As you already did know, Africa is a continent. It borders the Indian Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Mediterranean Sea. It has the second largest population and the second largest land area of any of the continents. Only Asia is bigger. There are 54 countries, 49 on the mainland and 5 more on the islands. There are about 2,000 different languages spoken there. So Africa is a very large and very diverse place. But what can you find there? You can find everything. You can find incredible architecture. Most people just know about the pyramids, but there's a lot of amazing things all throughout the continent. Africa has awesome natural features. Giant deserts, long rivers, huge rainforests, and tons of different wildlife. Africa has amazing cultures. Thousands of ethnic groups call Africa home. Africa has a wealth of human history. The earliest human remains were found in Africa, meaning Africa's history is the longest, and Africa's history is really everybody's history. There are more diamonds in Africa than in the rest of the world combined. Not only that, Africa has tons of natural resources, including gold and platinum and other precious metals. So, Africa is huge. There's no way we could possibly learn about all of it. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to pick 24 different geographic features of Africa that are interesting and learn about them. That's going to start us on our journey. So, let's go. The Zambezi is our first stop. The Zambezi is a river in central southern Africa. It's the fourth longest river in Africa. Only the Nile, the Congo, and the Niger are longer. It begins in Zambia, goes past Zimbabwe, and then eventually enters Mozambique and empties into the Indian Ocean. This means it's very easy to find the Zambezi on a map. You just look for all the Z's: Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique. It's just if you run into Brazil or Kazakhstan or Belize, you made a wrong turn. The most impressive feature of the Zambezi is definitely Victoria Falls. It is the widest waterfall in the world. Just look at that picture. It is extremely impressive. Mount Kilimanjaro is our next stop. Mount Kilimanjaro is a dormant volcano in Tanzania. It is the tallest mountain in Africa, and it's also the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. That means a mountain that's not immediately connected to another mountain in a range. It comes in at 19,341 feet tall, which isn't as tall as the mountains in the Himalayas, but it's still extremely impressive. It also has 3 different combs to climb. And if you're going to climb a mountain, Kilimanjaro is a pretty good choice. It's one of the easier of the tall mountains to climb, but remember, anything that tall has very thin air up top, so make sure you're ready for it. The Mosque Dajin is a religious site in Mali. As you probably know, a mosque is a temple of the Muslim faith. It was built in the 13th century in the Mali Empire, and then rebuilt again in 1832, and one more time in 1907, which is the building you see today. Now, why was the building rebuilt so many times? Well, it's a building made out of adobe. Adobe is mud. It's a 52-foot tall mud building. So, it makes sense that it was ruined, but the fact that it lasted for over 100 years is pretty impressive too, and that's because Mali is a desert. Mali is a hot, dry place, so it's the perfect condition for an adobe building to be. The Mosque Dajin was inspired by Islamic architecture, but it was built with materials and techniques unique to Mali, which is why the Mosque Dajin looks like no other building in the world. It's still used today, and you can still visit it. Stone Town is a part of the city of Zanzibar in Tanzania on the Indian Ocean. Stone Town is a very interesting place because of it's very unique architecturally. It's also an artist hub. The reason for this is because Stone Town was a center of Swahili culture, which is an African culture, but it was also an important trade city, so it drew in influences from all over the world. From the Islamic caliphates, you got Arab and Persian cultures, Indian cultures, and then eventually European cultures as well. Because of this, the architecture is extremely varied. There's all sorts of different kinds of buildings built there. You can see one of them on the bottom there. That's an Arabic-inspired castle. Next up are the 2 cities, Kinshasa and Brazzaville. These are both capital cities. Kinshasa is the capital of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Brazzaville is the capital of the Republic of the Congo. Did you know that there are two countries named the Congo in Africa? Well, there are, and their capitals are right next to each other. The only thing in between them is the Congo River. These are big cities too. They have a combined population of 13 million people. The Serengeti is an ecosystem in East Africa that includes Kenya and Tanzania, but mostly Tanzania. It's home to one of the largest animal migrations in the world, the megaherd, which includes zebras, gazelle, and wildebeests. You can see some of them in the first picture. The Serengeti also has a huge population of lions, which makes the Serengeti a very popular place for safaris. There's a large diversity of habitats there. It includes the plains, which you can see, as well as wetlands and wooded areas. Because of this diversity of habitats, there's an incredible diversity of wildlife here. Some of the earliest human fossils were also found in this area. Like we said, Africa was where the first human remains were found, and many of them were in this region. Robben Island is next. Robben Island is an island off the coast of South Africa that was used as a prison. South Africa for a very long time had a system of brutal segregation known as apartheid, and many civil rights leaders opposed it, of course. So what did they do? They put them in jail. And that was what Robben Island was used for. Well, sometimes there's justice in the world, because after apartheid ended, 3 of the civil rights leaders that were thrown in jail on Robben Island ended up becoming president of South Africa, most famously, of course, Nelson Mandela. After apartheid ended, the prison was disbanded in 1996, and now the island is a tourist destination. The last place we're going to talk about in this video is Luxor. Luxor is a temple in Egypt, and it's very well preserved. It was part of the province of Thebes in Upper Egypt. Just remember, since the Nile River runs south to north, Upper Egypt is actually in the southern part of Egypt. Luxor has beautiful architecture and sculptures. You can see original hieroglyphics, and you can see it all in its original context. Luxor is basically an outdoor museum of Egyptian history. If you want to learn some more about Africa, we're going to visit 8 more places in our next video, so make sure to check it out. This is Kevin from the Austin Public Library, reminding you to always be discovering your world.